This video is titled How World of Warcraft Lost Its Magic, and the thumbnail says, Why is Classic so much better? Just based on that, I'm kind of expecting some sort of comparison between Classic and Retail, so let's see.
Okay, so I tried playing Classic WoW again recently, and it really hit me this time how different.
Are you telling me that I had the sound set so low, and Ebonheart still was so loud? That's crazy, man. What a gamer.
Retail WoW feels. And I know the classic World of Warcraft came out 20 plus years ago, but it's not just like the graphic things, but it's literally everything. From quests feeling like a blind adventure to how slow it is, how long it takes to kill anything, how long it takes just to get to point A to point B. The world felt dangerous, but that danger and pacing added this weird kind of fun that I completely forgot about. And it made me wonder, how did World of Warcraft get here? In a way, it kind of feels like World of Warcraft culturally changed to fit this whole quick hit dopamine cycle.
You know, I'm gonna come out with a crazy take here and say that World of Warcraft didn't really change as much as we as gamers changed and the game changed with us. Because, like, the way we approached video games back in 2004 and 2005 is very different from how we approach them in 2025. And WoW, or Blizzard in this case, has just done what they can to keep up with the natural progression of how gamers play video games. That is my crazy take, and maybe people are going to be in the comments now being like, oh, but Classic WoW being so popular in 2019 and 2020 kind of disproves that. Yeah, but nostalgia, bro. Nostalgia is huge, and even when if you go to Classic right now, what a lot of people are wanting, and this is going to be super hot take by the way, but what a lot of people are asking for in Classic Plus seems to be retail, but with a nostalgia filter. Because they're asking for a lot of retail things that we have in retail. Some people are asking for transmogs in Classic. Some people are asking for heroic raids in Classic. Some people even ask for Mythic Plus sort of dungeons in Classic. And for example, in Mist of Pandaria, Cataclysm, and Wrath of the Lich King Classic, we had that. They were called like Beta or dungeons or like Alpha, Titan, Protocol, like those things, right? We already have those in the Classic universe. We had them in Wrath, we had them in Cataclysm, and we have them in Mist of Pandaria right now as well, through the whole, the Heroic Plus, basically. People are also asking for arenas in Classic WoW, they're asking for rated battlegrounds in Classic WoW, a lot of retail mechanics, but with a nostalgia filter. Yeah, it's a retail but Classic. Possibly a very, very hot opinion to have, controversial, I guess. Either way, felt like saying it.
Kind of like how we could just endlessly scroll on our phones. We could kind of do the same in retail WoW today. So today I want to talk about the 5 ways World of Warcraft has changed over time, and how those changes, while they might be convenient, they quietly kind of erased what made World of Warcraft so great to begin with. Number 1, pacing. In classic WoW, everything took time. Everything from killing a basic mob to traveling to zone. Getting your first mount just felt like a huge achievement. I remember how difficult it was to save up that much gold just to buy some basic riding mount, which was on my night elf by the way, and I got the cool purple tiger. So every piece of gear you got felt like a huge upgrade. Leveling didn't just feel like a means to an end. Leveling was kind of one of the main points of playing classic WoW.
One thing that I really miss in retail that we have in Classic is the gear actually matters and having different names. Because like in the last probably 4 expansions in retail, I can basically not even think about a single item name. The only one that I think I remember, which is from the recent expansion, is the Arakua Sackblood, or whatever the name is, of the trinket. Basically the Sackblood trinket. That's the only one that I remember, because other than that, all the weapons, like, who cares about what they're called? And they're not really of any significance anyway. Because a new season comes out, you grind the exact... You have the same names, but now they're scaling differently. I miss when weapons had different names every single patch. And the names actually mattered. Like Frostmourne, Shadowmourne, Thunder Fury, Sulfuras. There's so many names you remember. Ashkandi. You know? In retail, I can't think about like a single one. You remember like some Biss trinkets, that's it.
Also, just even moving your character around felt special. Without flying mounts or endless teleportation options, you actually had to experience the world. And there was so much to love. I mean, there's these beautiful handcrafted zones. The game almost played like a book where you could really just enjoy each page at your own pace. You'd run through dangerous paths, get jumped by higher level mobs on accident, maybe even meet another player on the same journey. Now it's that slow pacing that made World of Warcraft feel absolutely massive. In retail WoW, the philosophy has changed significantly. It's not so much about the journey, but it's about getting to max level, doing delves, raids, mythics, which don't get me wrong, like these are a lot of fun, but
I will say, once again, this is kind of just a cultural change and not a retail versus classic thing, because I'm a huge classic player, and I'm seeing this all the time as well. Like, literally, go and play Anniversary right now, and tell me what the gameplay is like until max level. The game, basically, is about rushing to max level, or even paying for mage boosts until max level. Literally, the popularity of mage boosts shows how little people care right now about the whole leveling experience and the journey to 60. People right now are trying to get to level 60 as fast as they can, and then start quote-unquote playing the game. This is not really a classic versus retail thing. Retail also, sure, not really a big focus on the leveling journey, but in classic, players as well, they do everything they can to cut out that leveling journey and just get to level 60. More and more players see leveling as a chore instead of like a journey right now. More and more.
I think the novelty of these wears off quickly. When compared to how much time you could just spend just exploring in classic World of Warcraft, I think that novelty experience lasted a lot longer. I mean, now you just blink and you're across the map, especially with portals and dragon riding. They have you moving so fast, you're like lucky if you even see what's on the ground. And sure, all these new riding systems and teleportation, like this is all convenient, but it really just shrinks the world down. And that convenience comes at the...
Once again, as somebody who actually plays Classic, I kinda wanna try to disprove this point a little bit as well. Because even though it sounds cool on paper, the reality is a little bit different. In Classic, sure, the world is large, but even there as well, people do everything they can to teleport around the world and skip traveling and skip seeing how big the world is. In Classic, Anniversary, or ever right now, you literally have Warlock summoning services to about 10 different places on each continent. It's called a taxi service, and it's on every big server in the world. You pay a Warlock 5 gold, sometimes between 1 and 5 gold basically, and he will summon you everywhere. Even right now, in Classic, people do that instead of traveling. So I don't really see, like, in the game itself, sure, I can see the difference, but in the way people play the game, I don't see the difference. I think it's like just a player mentality.
Price of adventure. And I know this sounds cliche, but the old saying really speaks here. It's not about the destination, but the journey. Reason 2, Quest didn't hold your hand. Now back then, Quest didn't tell you exactly where to go.
Rested XP. Rested XP. The guide. Not the mechanic.
There wasn't glowing
Hashtag follow arrow.
circles on the map or quest markers leading you step by step. You actually had to read, you actually had to pay attention, and even after the end of reading the quest, there was a little bit of mystery to it, which made each quest feel like an adventure. And yeah, sometimes you'd get lost.
I think not telling you where to go is just annoying, in my opinion. Yeah, and you are not the only one. I just said Rested XP. For anybody who somehow doesn't know what that is, it's an add-on in Classic WoW. Well, it's in all versions of WoW, but it's really big in Classic WoW. And let me just go to CurseForge right now and talk about how many people agree with Castle in this case. Because, like, thinking about this and being like, oh, it doesn't tell you where to go, there's no hand-holding. It's good on paper, but then we go to reality. Rested XP is an arrow showing you where to go and what to do. It has 18.8 million downloads. That number by itself should probably tell you how many people actually want to be told where to go. So yeah, like here as well, you have the game, and then you have the reality of how people play the game.
And end up in a cave full of overleveled enemies or stumble onto some secret quest line. I feel like exploration, like not just checking off some to-do list. And I know the current WoW systems are overly efficient, and I understand why they do that, so like everybody could play, but at the same time, it kind of ruins the mystery that they've created. I think the past like 2 or 3 expansions, with the main quest lines that added narration.
I would be honored if you helped me send her to rest.
And I really like how they did that, so now you don't have to, spend a whole lifetime reading each quest. But again, everything I'm saying is sort of a double-edged sword. This convenience comes at the cost of your connection to the story. Reason 3, enemies felt like a challenge. Okay, this is something that I just completely forgot, but Classic made you respect your enemies. Your character wasn't just some overpowered hero mowing down everything in sight. 2 enemies could easily kill you, and if there was a patrol coming, you're definitely screwed. You actually had to think about crowd control abilities. That sense of danger gave every fight weight.
No, if 2 enemies killed you, that's a skill issue, bro. I'm sorry. Just had to be said.
You actually had to think about pulling carefully. But like now you sneeze and a mob explodes and gear flies everywhere. I mean, hell, even these elite quests or whatever, where there's like, it says recommends 3 players. Like that's just like, maybe. You could probably do it by yourself if you're a hunter or a death knight or somebody. It's easy. But I really just miss that aspect of you're just barely surviving. You're just barely getting by. That made everything feel difficult but rewarding at the same time. I almost wish that there was a Dark Souls version of World of Warcraft. That's like my dream game. That'd be so fun. Reason number 4, the community actually mattered. So this wasn't just in Classic, but this has, been around, I think since, I want to say Wrath of the Lich King, but like your realm actually meant something. You knew who the good players were, you knew what guilds you wanted to be in.
Yeah, try Legion Remix, Heroic World Team at level 10.
You'd always remember that's like, oh, there's that one Tauren warrior that's going to kill you every single time at Goldshire. You'd make friends, you'd make rivals, build teams. I think that sense of community made your server feel unique. Now you just queue up, you teleport into a dungeon, never see those players ever again. And again, it's efficient, but it's so lonely.
Yeah.
And I know this world's still there, like the community's still there, but it just feels harder to make meaningful connections. Reason number 5, survival gameplay. So Classic WoW actually had a subtle layer of survival that's almost completely gone today. And this is something that I really didn't realize until I picked up Classic again, but you had to carry food everywhere. You had the drinks you had to have on tap. Mana actually mattered. You had to sit and drink in between fights just to keep going. Your health didn't just magically refill after combat. You really had to earn every pull. And your stats now are just numbers, like you're just looking at a gear score. But back then there was really none of that. I mean, for certain dungeons or raids, you would need...
I mean, we're once again, we have the way the game was played, and then we have the game itself. Yes, there was no gear score, but there was definitely, like in Classic, for example, there's a BIS list you follow. You get your best in slot, and then for any single raid, you pretty much either link your logs, or if it was before the log times, you would meet up at the Ironforge Bridge for a gear inspection, which basically is the exact same thing as item level or gear score. You are meeting up at a place to showcase your gear, or using logs to show how well geared you are, or the DPS performance you're able to put out. Basically, once again, making it all about numbers. And following the quote-unquote optimal meta. The game, the way the game is actually being played versus the base game itself.
Need shadow resistance, or you need more spirit in certain fights because you had to have that mana regen. Even like hunters had to carry arrows. You actually had to prepare. Now, I think all of that just made Azeroth feel like a real journey. You were traveling far from home, you had to survive in some dangerous, unfamiliar...
He's not really describing Classic WoW. Yeah, no, he's describing how World of Warcraft lost its magic, but I'm trying to basically say how it's not really the game itself losing its magic, it's more about the way the gamers are playing the game that are making the game seem like it's lost its magic when it probably hasn't. Because players right now in 2025 just play the game way differently than they did in 2004. It's been 20 years. It's quite normal that people progress. And even just think about how stupid people were back in 2005. Like how dumb the average gamer was and how noob they were. You could take like a world first raider from 2005, there wasn't any, but like take a good person from 2005 who hasn't played since then and let him play now. In Classic, the game he knows and loves, versus like anybody at the moment who have played Classic. You will see that people just play the game differently. We know a lot more, and we are way better at just literally being gamers.
World, you had no clue where the next flight path was. It made you respect the game, and it made victories feel earned. Now, all this to say, I don't think Blizzard ruined World of Warcraft. I think more or less they adapted and evolved it to fit modern gaming. And I think as the community has kind of aged, progressed out of it, I think to let new players in, they really had to change how accessible the game was. They had to make it more streamlined. I mean, think of how many expansions they have. Each one layered some new complexity. So I think ultimately...
I will say this is a really good video, by the way. Really well put together, and it's a good retrospect, or like a good way to think about the game. And comparing Vanilla WoW 2005 to how it is now, and what has changed on the game level.
You have to simplify it. But somewhere along the way, it lost those little imperfections they had, kind of made the game magical. The pacing, the danger, the...
It's like he has good points, but like what he just said here.
They had kind of made the game magical.
The imperfections it had kinda made the game magical. I think once again we are looking at Vanilla WoW through a very nostalgic lens, and Vanilla WoW is good for what it is. It's Vanilla WoW. But I think retail is also very good for what it is, because retail has just evolved as gamers has evolved. It's way less about Blizzard ruining the game and blah blah blah. It's more about keeping up with the evolution of gamers. They're evolving the game intact with gamers evolving as well.
The pacing, the danger, the adventure. You didn't play for loot or weekly caps. You played because every night felt like a new story waiting to happen. I think the true magic of Classic was not knowing what's next. And the thing is now, I know what exactly is going to happen. I know all the dungeons, I know all the abilities, the zones, every inch of it. So it's kind of difficult to chase that same sense of wonder since I already know how the story ends. But even so, I definitely have like this nostalgic feeling towards the game. I miss the sense of losing myself, staying up way too late, grinding, exploring, meeting strangers who became friends. And although the game may be very different today, I have lots of fond memories of those times playing. And sometimes, you just wish you could go back. Anyways, yeah. I hope you like this video. If you want more gaming content, let me know.
Good video.
I'm also doing videos about movie commentary. I just did one recently about why Alien, the 1979 movie, was one of the best movies ever made. I kind of just want this channel to be an outlet for everything that I'm interested in. I actually started Happy Dead on TikTok, and I started probably 3 years ago, and I was just making kind of like horror stories. Like I would talk about just like Bigfoot or UFO encounters. That's kind of like what I find interesting. So anyways, if you want to follow me around, you like my editing style, you like just to hear me yap about whatever, please consider hitting that like or subscribe button. Really helps a lot. Anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
That was a good video, by the way. Yeah, just good pacing, good chat, good vibes. That was a good way to just like compare the game's evolution over time. I just once again feel like the game has just been evolving as we are evolving as gamers. And it's kind of like what Dark said as well. Imperfections aren't a good thing. Yeah, I would rather have a perfect game than an imperfect game, personally. But then it's about solving the imperfections in a good way to make it perfect. You would ideally, like if you can, you want things to be perfect. Then they're never going to be, but ideally, if you can, you would like things to be perfect, I would assume. I just feel like retail has evolved intact with how we as gamers have evolved as gamers. There are many things I don't really like about retail as well, but there are many things that I really do like as well. And I think it's good that we have Classic and we also have retail. Basically appealing to all sorts of gamers. Classic to me is a more slow pace style game, that is not really as difficult, and then we have retail that is both fast-paced and also slightly more difficult. I mean, here's the thing. There's going to be a lot of classic Andes who might watch this reaction video, or even in the chat right now, being like, oh, you never cleared the hardest raid on the hardest difficulty, man. Raiding in classic, if you get 100 parsing, it's so hard, man. Raiding in classic is hard. Raiding in retail is easy. But they are comparing getting full 100 parses to looking for raid in retail. I would say 0.00001% of raiders in Classic will ever be able to kill a single mythic boss, like in retail, in a raid. They would not be able to. At least an end boss. Never. 0.00001% would be able to do so. The other 99.999999999%, they will never kill a mythic end boss. Raiding is hard. It really is. And they basically, you can see this in Classic as well. In Ulduar, in Wrath, a lot of people went back to Era because raiding got too hard. Raiding is too hard. They want to go back and do Molten Core, where they can literally, like, I could eat food, fap, and play the game, all at the same time, while cleaning my house and taking out the trash. I could build an outdoor house at the same time and do a raid. It is insane. You just need to have like one finger on the keyboard, and you can do top deeps. But good video.